Hey there, guys and gals. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Propaganda Comics Podcast, one of the cheapest produced podcasts on the internet today. I'm your host, Benjamin Blankenship. Hey, it's great to have you back. Man, when people ask, what's your favorite comic, you hear people say Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, all that. I don't know how many of them really go to the funny pages. Maybe a few. When somebody would say, what's your favorite comic strip, your favorite comic in the funny pages? I have a few, and really, it's what makes me smile. It's what made me like comics, what you would see in the funnies. One of my favorites has to be what's also, I would call, one of the best Christian comics ever of all time. Is every issue that? No. The name of it is BC. BC was created by Johnny Hart. BC came out in February 17th of 1958 and still continues until today. Johnny Hart died at his drawing board in 2007, and I look forward to meeting him in heaven one day. Man, this guy was a man that was on fire for God. They talk about the Christian market in movies and all these sorts of things. It makes crazy, ludicrous amounts of money. How big of a deal is it? It's such a big deal that DC, when they made Man of Steel, that they tried to propagate that film to pastors, had different pastors from different denominations of churches go in and basically, wouldn't it be cool to kind of twist a sermon around in a movie that really doesn't have anything to do with Jesus at all because it's hip and trendy and cool and, a fad, right? What's weird in comics, and they've got this thing called Comicsgate right now, and I'm going to get into BC here in a second more, but they talk about this Comicsgate thing, is that they have people that are trying to push all sorts of agendas. People, it's not that they're doing things necessarily at a money angle, because if they were, they're losing money. It's that whoever you have that's a writer for a comic, a book, a movie, it's kind of about their starting point, right? Representing people that have this kind of sexuality, representing people that have these kind of religious beliefs. I'm not saying that that's going to dominate the whole thing or not, but it causes them to look at things in a different way, where they're looking at things from different points, whether it's a Jesus-loving or hating sort of angle. You can look at things like The Boys, and you see that in that series, which is probably better known because they've got a television, Amazon Prime series about that now. They have a character that starts out that she's a Christian. She believes in Jesus and the Bible and all these things. She believes that superheroes are genuinely what they're supposed to be, and it's about the crumbling and the shattering of her faith that she comes to question, is anything the way that I thought that it was? Wow. It's a tone that's normal among comics nowadays. It's normal where they used to be reverent towards Jesus Christ and Christianity. Now it's become hip and cool to be irreverent, where things like homosexuality and such were frowned on. Obviously were frowned on. What was it, an NBC special? I think it was NBC. It was called The Homosexual, and it's like, beware to the little boy that this sex pervert wants to get you and do things to you, and that's the way that came off. Now the thing that people want to act like is creepy is being a Christian. In China, you'll get arrested for it. We can have mass protest with thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people, but God forbid you get 100 or 200 people in a church service that are around each other. You're kind of like family. Spiritually, You know each other. It's weird. The whole thing's weird. So Johnny Hart, just talking about his heart and where I'm coming from with this, he was a man that really loved the Lord, that was passionate about God, and there towards the end of his life, especially, BC was reflective of that. So much so that there was a little bit of, I'm going to call it scandal, not really, but I'm going to use that word. There were some of his issues that weren't printed in certain newspapers because they were offensive to people, because they said you're trying to proselyte us. You really can't sell something that you don't believe in, and he was a man that true blue believed in Jesus Christ. BC is an amazing comic strip, whether it's preachy or not. It's funny, it's cute, it's quirky. It spawned 2 video games back in the day, both of which I played on the Commodore 64, but they were on several different series. First one is the Quest for New Tires, which somebody made a PC game. I don't mean politically correct or propaganda comics, I mean for computers. Made a PC game of that, like a renewed. Nobody's renewed the Grog's Revenge thing. Both games involve you riding on your unicycle wheel, yeah, and all that sort of thing, jumping over pits or collecting coins to cross a bridge or whatnot. But I mean, hats off to Johnny Hart. I love the series. It's a big thing when Thomas Nelson, Christian Publications Place, prints out a book of your comic strip and calls it "I Did It His Way," his meaning God. Yeah, BC's something else. They had McDonald's cups, they've had video games, they had 2 animated television specials, a Thanksgiving and Christmas one, and I just love it and just think that it will always be fantastic. This isn't something that's totally weird for comic strips, but it's just so outgoing with it. We find a lot of it in Family Circus. We find it in Peanuts, certainly. But man, BC, it's where I'm at. I love it. Always loved the work of Johnny Hart. God bless him and his memory. And I'm just appreciative that he made this outstanding comic. Also, he's the creator of the Wizard of Id. Lest you wonder. I hope that you enjoyed this podcast, this free podcast. If you want to support us, if you enjoy satire, overly politicized, parodied, media biased, real quirky, kind of Mad Magazine-esque sort of comics, please subscribe. Look into, it's $1 a month. You could try it for a month, and if you weren't in love with it, then just unsubscribe. www.patreon.com/propaganda comics. Again, that's www.patreon.com/propaganda comics. Consider subscribing. Tell somebody that you know. I hope you enjoyed it, and I just want people to have a good time with that. It's some really cute stuff. Thanks.